Hey students, it's Mr. Smedes, and today I'll be walking you through the GRP Smart Growth Contest. So this will be a project that we're doing to practice explaining how different smart growth strategies can help limit urban sprawl and reduce environmental and human health consequences of urbanization. So here's the background for the project. The city of Kentwood is looking to hire a new city manager. They want to have a more sustainable city going forward, and so GRP students are being given an opportunity to present their plan for reducing urban sprawl in Kentwood. So you guys are going to put your APES knowledge to the test, see who can come up with the best plan to limit urban sprawl in Kentwood going forward. So your plan will consist of one of the 8 smart growth strategies that you'll find in this list here, and then you and your group mates will have to create a 4 to 5 minute pitch to basically convince a board of directors that your group should be the one to develop the new smart growth strategy for the city of Kentwood. Your pitch needs to include the following things. First is a basic description of your SMART goal. So what is the strategy that you'll be using to achieve smart growth? Number 2 is an explanation of how this specific strategy will limit urban sprawl. Number 3, you have to highlight these 3 environmental outcomes of your strategy. So how will your strategy mitigate environmental pollution with respect to carbon dioxide emissions, water pollution, and habitat loss? And then finally, we'll be using EnviroAtlas to select a parameter or an environmental data set that shows another problem in the city of Kentwood and explains how your solution will address that specific problem as well. So we'll look at the EnviroAtlas requirement in a little bit more depth here. The first thing to do is to find a parameter or a data layer that actually illustrates another problem existing in the city of Kentwood. So one example could be pedestrian-oriented intersection density. This can help point out if Kentwood is set up well to allow pedestrians to walk around or if it's set up poorly for this, and could highlight consequences that come with that. Next, you have to define the problem. So why is this a problem? Why is decreased pedestrian-oriented intersection density an issue? So you're going to have to actually explain why that's a problem. And then finally, explain how your smart growth strategy that you've been talking about throughout your presentation can also address this problem that you've identified using an EnviroAtlas data layer or a parameter. So we'll look at an example here of how to actually do that using EnviroAtlas. So now we're in EnviroAtlas, and I've already selected Grand River Prep with a focus on Kentwood by searching for it using the search feature. Then what I'm going to do is turn on my mouse highlight here so you can watch exactly what I'm clicking on. I'm going to go over to our data layers here, and the one that I'm going to look for is going to be under commuting and walkability. So I'll click on that, and once that tab expands to show me more options, I'm going to click pedestrian-oriented street intersection density. So what this is going to show me now, if I drop down this menu, is the number of intersections per square mile that are pedestrian-oriented. And you might be asking yourself, what does that mean? Well, we can click on these dots here and we can view the data fact sheet. Clicking view data fact sheet will tell you what the data you're actually looking at refers to. And so you can read through this and understand how they actually calculate that number of how many intersections in a given area are pedestrian oriented. Basically, it means it's set up well for walkers to cross the street. So if there's a lot of businesses in the way or there's large barriers like lakes or highways, those would not be pedestrian oriented. So now we can go back to EnviroAtlas and we can see that here's Grand River Prep and here's the city of Kentwood. If we compare the city of Kentwood to Grand Rapids and East Grand Rapids, we're seeing a much lower concentration of pedestrian-oriented intersections here. So that's a problem. So next we'll talk about a student example so that you can understand how you can actually tie in EnviroAtlas data to your smart growth presentation. So we have a student example here for the smart growth strategy of mixed land use. We can see that they've described their strategy. They've explained how it reduces sprawl. They've explained how it mitigates these 3 environmental quality data pieces. And finally, we can look at their EnviroAtlas map. So I changed the colors here a little bit to make a more stark contrast to help us see the difference. But we can clearly see here that there's a problem in Kentwood of walkability. So a lot of the areas that are in Kentwood have a low density of pedestrian-oriented street intersections, meaning there are not a lot of streets that pedestrians can easily cross in Kentwood, meaning that it's not a very walkable area when we compare it to Grand Rapids, especially areas like East Grand Rapids or downtown. So that's the problem, and that's how we identified it using EnviroAtlas data. Finally, we need to explain how the solution of mixed land use will actually solve the issue of walkability. So because mixed land use involves building walkable sidewalks and intersections, it allows pedestrians to access all of the different uses that are concentrated in a given area. So things like their apartment buildings, shops, entertainment areas, businesses that they may want to go to. So with increased walkability, we should see a decrease in both obesity and heart disease as people get more exercise, they rely on their cars less. But we should also see an improvement in air quality as fewer cars on the road due to everyone walking more results in fewer emissions of particulate matter. And that particulate matter being reduced can then have another human health benefit of reducing asthma and bronchitis, so respiratory diseases that are worsened by particulate matter. So I hope this video is helpful in helping you understand how to integrate EnviroAtlas data into your smart growth planning project.